Hello and welcome. Hi everybody. Happy New Year. It's first stream of the year, so glad you could join. I see several new faces in the chat, which is great. So that means I didn't accidentally press the subscribers only mode again. But yes, Happy New Year. Thanks everybody for joining. If you are new here, welcome. Today we are going to just chat about live streaming and video production. Feel free to ask questions in the chat whenever you want. If you do have a question for me and you want to make sure that I actually see it, please do make sure to put the letter Q in front of it, and that way it will filter it onto my screen. And I am now realizing that that was the one thing I didn't test, which is my little graphics for that. I think H2R graphics didn't restart up when I rebooted my computer. We're gonna fix that. So yeah, today we don't have like a super set agenda. We are going to do a little recap of what we talked about last week. Was it last week? No, 2 weeks ago, when I did a live stream every day for the week. And then we're going to chat about some new stuff in the studio that I've got going on. So let's see if I can get my graphics working, because I do want those. So we need to reload the graphics in OBS. That's the problem. Okay. Oh, my mouse. No little error message today. There we go. Start your message with Q to ask a question. And that just helps me filter it out amongst all of the chat. So yeah, let's start with seeing if there's anybody in the chat with some easy questions. I see some easy questions. How deep is your room? Oh no. And my chat's not working today either. There it goes. Okay. How deep is your room? Any windows in there? It is about 20 feet that way, side to side, and then 12 this way. And I am sitting pretty much exactly in the middle of the room here. And this is, so that means there's 6 feet over there and 6 feet behind me. So 6 feet to the back of the wall, I can't quite reach it. And there are windows on the sides. And I normally have them all covered because I actually want to control the light in here, and I don't want anybody to see in the windows either. So I normally keep them all covered, and then it's only the lights only the studio lighting that is in this room. All sorts of good questions coming in already. This is wonderful. Are we going to have a tour of the new rack? Absolutely. I will be showing you some of that pretty soon. Here is a little sneak peek of the rack in action. And I also have a sneak peek of the back, which is more organized than it looks at first glance. So yeah, Eric, this is in fact a live shot of the rack, and you can see your chat messages there somewhere if you look real close. And we will do a full walkthrough of that in a little bit later. Jan says, when is the comparison overview of the small video mixers scheduled? So I was originally going to do that today, and then I was like, actually, I think a better first stream of the year would be just a normal one, and talking about studio stuff and live streaming stuff. So I don't know exactly yet. I have a couple of small mixers. I actually might try to get one more in first before I do a comparison. There was a new one that just came out from Feel World, the L2, and that is I might try to get that one in before I do a overview of all three of them then. And I also have a RGB link one to look at as well. So we do have more of that stuff coming. I am actually curious though. Just so yeah, let's quickly. I'm gonna see if I can do this for the first time. How do I do it? There's a poll thing in here in the YouTube chat. I'm actually curious whether if you watched the streams during Stream Week where I was demoing stuff live, I am curious whether you preferred that format versus a more edited overview of the devices. So for comparison, like I have some videos on here. Gosh, what is the most recent one I've done? Probably, oh, I hope this button still works. Ha, it does. So these are the videos I'm talking about, the Stream Week ones where I did live walkthroughs of all the switchers versus some of my more edited videos, which would be like, do I even have like an overview? I guess the AV Matrix one might be the closest, although it wasn't strictly an overview, it was a sort of comparison. Yeah, now that I'm looking at it, I don't actually have like general overview videos of these devices. Here's where I was talking about the Pearl Nano, which is calling out specifically the features that are unique to it. Anyway, what I'm curious about, and what I'm going to try to write this poll up, is do you prefer live stream overviews of the streaming devices or edited videos? And now I have to change the options to not just be yes or no. Live streams or edited. And we're going to push this out on the chat, and it should give you a little, yeah, there it goes. It should give you a little poll. And go ahead, and I'm going to leave that up for a few minutes and keep chatting. And I'm curious what you think, because I can go either way with those. I had a lot of fun doing them live. I don't know if I'll be able to do a giveaway every time if I keep doing them live, but anyway, it was fun. But I'm curious what you would like to see more of. While I have that up, let's see if we can get to some other questions. Patrick, any predictions for the ATEM Mini line of products for the year? Specifically the ATEM Minis, actually, I think we're not going to see anything for a while. I feel like there's a lot of them out there. There's six, right? 3 ATEM Minis and 2 ATEM Extremes, so 5 total. A lot of different options, and I don't think we're going to see updates to that. I think we're going to see updates to the higher end ATEMs, and I don't think we need to see updates to the ATEM Minis either. I think they have a great feature set and they are doing their job. So I think that's good enough for now. The problem with the live stream overview is that you are easily distracted. I know. Well, that's because all the questions are so good. And then we get chatting about whatever. So, do you think Magewell will make Super Source available in the ATEM Mini Pro? I don't. I think if they were going to, they would have already. I have a feeling there's not enough processing power in the ATEM Mini Pro to add it. That is by far my favorite feature of the ATEM Mini Extreme, though, and why I would, strongly encourage you to look at the ATEM Mini Extreme if you're looking at these devices brand new. When do you think the Sting button will be enabled on the ATEM Extreme? That is a good question. I'm really curious what their plan is for that, because normally the Sting feature in the ATEMs requires, it's like a souped up media pool. So the media pool has 20 slots for graphics, and you can load in 20 still shots right now into the media pool. In almost all the ATEMs, I think, have 20. And the way the Stingers work is actually kind of similar, where instead of a single still graphic, you create like an image sequence. It's not really a video, it's more like an image sequence. And then there's a couple of slots up at the top, and there's not that many of them. Depends on which model you have, of course. There's a couple of slots for those. And it's basically like just playing a sequence of images very quickly to create what looks like an animation. And you actually can kind of do that with the 20 still shots if you really want to. You can, I've seen people do this where you make a macro that just changes the active image very, very quickly, and it will look like animation. And if you have a 20 frame animation, it actually works pretty well. So The reason I say that I'm surprised they even have that button if the feature is not enabled yet is because, again, it takes like a lot of extra memory and hardware to have that feature in the ATEMs, which is not something you can just add in firmware. So I'm a little bit, yeah, I'll be curious to see if they had sort of planned ahead and built in the extra hardware needed to do that and just didn't quite turn it on yet, but we'll see. We'll see. Okay, we're getting some feedback on edited versus live streams, so let's oh, that's pretty good. We have like a, I want to say 60% vote rate. I'll give it a few more minutes. And then we're gonna go back to that. So, okay, what else? Can you convert the web presenter USB-C to HDMI? So this would apply to anything that has webcam out, like the web presenter or the ATEMs or USB webcams. Those are all webcam out. The webcam UVC protocol, and there isn't like a normal device to turn that into HDMI. What you basically need is something that can take UVC in, which is typically a computer, and then output that video. So I have actually been using a device that does do that, which is, let me see if I can find the link. I'm still like getting my head around this device because it's kind of confusing, but it's the it is the TBS2603AU, and this little thing, this one, so they sent me this over a while ago, and I've been trying to use it for a couple of things and figure out what video to make about it. And then I realized that it does do this. It does have this feature where on the side is a USB port, and there is a way to have it output over HDMI. Great, they give me two angles of the same side. Where's the other side of the device? The other side has the HDMI port on it. And it does do essentially that, of like webcam to HDMI. As you can see, it's not a terribly cheap way to do it, but it's because you basically need a computer to do that. And this one does it. I haven't seen, I don't know if I've actually seen any other device. There is one that has popped up on YouTube, but I haven't been able to find it for sale anywhere. And then of course you could also do it with a Raspberry Pi, but I had very bad luck, very bad performance with the Raspberry Pi doing that. You can of course do it with OBS out of a monitor, and any of those kinds of things. This is an important one. No, USB-C to HDMI cables do not work because those are completely not anything like a webcam. So USB-C is one of the most confusing things because because it does so many different things all together. And I like it in some ways, but I also don't like it in that sense because it has just made this so confusing. You're like, okay, here's a USB-C to HDMI dongle. Why can't I plug it into this USB-C thing? Well, it's because those aren't the same USB-Cs. So no, those dongles won't work. You need something that can take a webcam input and convert it back to a video signal. So yeah, that is a story. Hopefully that answers the question. Yeah. Okay, getting up there on the answers. I'm going to go back to the beginning of these. A couple good questions came in at the start. The JS Gilbert, I have a question about the YoloBox and YoloBox Pro. If somebody already has a YoloBox, does it make sense for them to upgrade to the Pro if they don't really need another camera input? So I do have a video about YoloBox versus Pro, like what's sort of new in the is it worth the upgrade? That's the video. I'm going to drop a link here. So this is a video about YoloBox Pro, and this video I talk about specifically the features added to the Pro over the base. And in addition to the HDMI input, the processor is significantly faster, which means they are able to add more features to the Pro. So I would say if you are feeling like you are limited by like lack of ability to do green screening, or if you are excited about some of the new features that are coming into the Pro version, I saw, speaking of which, I did see in their latest email that they have officially said that the graphics browser source overlay is coming into the YoloBox. I'm assuming only the Pro, because I don't think the processor is fast enough in the original one. But I'm very excited about that, especially that they officially announced it. And those might be reasons to upgrade. I will also say the video quality is quite a bit better in the Pro. And I don't remember if I showed a clip in that video of a side-by-side between the two. I don't think I did. But the video quality, the picture, like the colors are more accurate in the Pro. So it could be a good upgrade. It's definitely a better purchase if you're purchasing new for the first time. Chris, do you prefer using the trackpad or a Magic Mouse? I've been using the trackpad for a long time. I actually prefer a laptop trackpad built into the laptop over this. And on the if I'm using a laptop, I'll never use an external keyboard, which is also the reason that I always, in my desks, I always have a monitor above the laptop. I never dock my laptop because I like the keyboard and mouse of the laptop so much. I actually like the position of the trackpad being under the keyboard, so I don't have to do so much side-to-side movement. And I do like the trackpad. I like the being able to like swipe and pinch and zoom and stuff. And honestly, gripping a mouse ends up cramping my hand too much anyway. Haven't found a good mouse that I actually like. Michael says, what programming, scripting skill, or language has been the most useful for you in making the various tools you have? This is a great question. The most of the tools that I have, which are things like the chat that's happening right here, my view of it, which is sort of my behind the scenes interface, which is doing all of the logging of the chat messages into a database, pulling data from the YouTube API to archive it onto my website, for example. Like this view is all dynamically, it's just all automatic. It just imports into this list automatically. And then the chapters, where did it go? I can't even find my own links. Here it is, the chapter search. This where it is automatically indexing everything. And that's all sort of handwritten code that I've got. The vast majority of the front end stuff, like the chat messages and all that stuff, is plain JavaScript and CSS. I try to avoid using libraries if I can. I do use jQuery a bit if the sort of base JavaScript is a little bit too awkward in some cases. And I tend to write a lot of CSS by hand. Sometimes I'll bring in a framework for a website, or sometimes I'll find somebody else's templates that are just some random CSS collection of things. And then on the server side, if I'm doing code for like writing into a database or stuff like that, it's probably PHP and MySQL, mostly because it requires so little to actually deploy that and maintain it. And I don't need to install a bunch of stuff. I don't need it's just so straightforward. And I just don't have patience for dealing with miles of dependencies and stuff. So I know it's probably not the answer you wanted to hear, but it is nothing fancy. It is nothing at all that is like shiny new tech. And it's because I just want it to work and then just get out of the way and just be done with it. Roland's reminding me that trackpads are also typically quieter than using a mouse, which is a interesting point. I hadn't thought about that, but the clicks of a mouse are usually a lot louder, which is very, very good point. Okay, we're gonna go and let's take a look at the poll. So I see that we have a quite a significant majority of people who prefer live streams, almost twice as many people, which is great. 66% prefer the live stream format, 34% prefer the edited format. That is very good feedback. Thank you for that. And I do see there were some notes being dropped in the chat as well. So let me go find those, because there were some good comments I saw scrolling by. The where was it? Oh gosh. Okay, here it is. Hopefully you mentioned, hopefully you put the letter Q in front, because I'm looking at that list right now to go through these. The live streaming and repurposing parts, I've tried that. So far, for whatever reason, the way that I end up doing the live streams ends up actually not making a lot of sense in trying to edit it again. And I think part of that is I saw somebody commented this. Okay, now I have to go find that in the other column. Where was that? Repurpose. So yeah, when watching the live, missing focus, more rambly style is okay because the interaction is there. Watching later, prefer edited versions. Yeah. And then someone said this one. I think the super chats are very distracting, especially when they're immediately reacted upon. And this is a very good point, and this is also one of the reasons that I haven't been able to take the live streams and then sort of like chop them back up, because I do get interrupted by the super chats, which is fun in the live streams, but then kind of breaks the flow of the content. So with that, I think one option could be I turn off that feature during the sort of product demo live streams or product demo segments, and don't interrupt, and actually just ignore the chat for those demos, so that I do create contiguous content that can be extracted later, or at least just watched back in a reasonable pace. Other comments related to that. Graham says, live is great for being able to raise questions at the time, but edited is better than watching a recorded stream. And then it's not so much distractions as people like me interrupting with super chats. I appreciate the super chats. Thank you very much. But yes, I agree that maybe it is a bit interrupting the flow of the content. Mike says, what if both live and edited? It's fun to watch live, but nicer to refer back to the edited versions later. And then edited overviews with chapters. Let me go back to the video for reference. So this is something that I have been trying to do with all of my live streams. And this is something that hopefully you know about already, but if not, I will just remind you again. If you go to, and I'm going to, this very soon, this month or next month, I'm going to update the interface for this, but the links will still work. The aaronpk.tv/timestamps. This is my attempt at making my live streams searchable. So essentially, these are all of the chapter markers in my live streams. And I do go back and add chapters to the live streams, especially ones where I'm demoing products. So if we go back to, if we get out of the December 28th one, which was chaos, that was fun, long stream. But here's like ATEM Mini Pro live demo, right? Here's a segment about upstream and downstream keyers. And this is where I did a more focused bit about the upstream and downstream keyers on an ATEM Mini Pro. And if you click on that, it'll jump you right to that part of the video. And then this is the segment, and you can see the timestamp. It's like 2 minutes long or whatever, or for that particular topic. So I do go back and add timestamps to the live streams for that purpose, so that you can search through them later. And this is how you can search them. So if you go up to the top and you just search for like downstream, you'll see all the times that I mentioned downstream keys, and all the different live streams where, and the timestamps for those segments. And this saves me the trouble of having to actually edit the video, because you can just dive right into the live stream and then see that segment until that segment is over. Okay, other thoughts. John says, I'm a fan of edited videos when I really want an overview. Live streams are great for longer thoughts and Q&A. Eric says, the coolest part of live is the struggle is real. Seeing Aaron have issues figuring stuff, or do Google searches to figure it out in real time. Yeah, okay. And Peter says, each has their place. The edited versions are good for high live overviews, but the stream version is more like reading the manual when you get to really consider the purchase. Interesting. And And then Matt has an interesting one. I want edited, but then within like a live stream a week or so later to be able to ask questions. I like that idea. The Matt, and then Chris says, yeah, I think that's the perfect combo. Yeah. So, and then Chris, I think I'm not alone that we like to see an edited version and then a live stream to go in depth. So yeah, I think that's the end of the chat about those. So that's good feedback. I will take that under consideration and see what we can come up with. I think I mentioned this on Tuesday last week. The live streams have been the one thing I've been able to do on this channel consistently because of how much I've put into making it so I can just essentially walk in here and start going and not have to do a lot of prep or a lot of post work, which is great. And I can actually do good demos of products because I can wire them into the studio and wire them into the cameras and then show you real videos going in and out of it. So that's really useful. So I just need to figure out a plan to be able to more sustainably create more of the edited content as well. Rick says, can you remind me of the search term to use to search for your keynote slideshow on the right side of the screen? Good question. Good question. He is talking about this thing that pops in from the side, which is, what have I called it? Have I called it keynote? Well, I found one segment on this. This is the I just searched for keynote, and it was from last week on Sunday, creating graphics in Keynote and an iPod. iPod might also be another search term. So yeah, there's another time I mentioned iPod, which was on Tuesday. But yeah, Keynote. I think I haven't mentioned it too much because it's relatively new. I think I did it right before the week of live streams because I wanted to be able to have a little sidebar that would slide out and talk about different things. And it's been pretty fun. So my plan with this has been working exactly as I wanted to, where that Keynote file is stored in my iCloud drive, and then that iPod is logged into the iCloud drive. So I can open the file on my computer, make changes to the slides, and then relaunch the slideshow on the iPod, and it will just get the changes automatically. There's no copying files around. It's very very nice. It's been working very well. JS is making a good point. When you run a poll like this during a live chat, you are definitely going to get more people saying live stream. I'm in advertising and have studies showing produced videos on YouTube work better. Yeah, I mean, if you just look at the view numbers I get on my videos, edited videos get way more views because it's easier for people to commit to a 3-minute or 6-minute video compared to a 1.5 hour video. But live streams are fun as well. I just need to figure out how to crank out more videos. So, okay, we're moving on. Let's end that poll, get it out of the chat. Okay, just a reminder again, because the chat is popping today. If you want to make sure that I get to your question, put the letter Q in front, and it filters it out on my screen here. So I can look at just those. So let's go through some of the ones from earlier. About the ATEM Mini Pro, does the key button work for the downstream key or the upstream key? Ooh, this is a good question. Let me think. I need to see it. Okay, so there's two buttons. And I don't have it here. Let me see if I can pull it up on the Blackmagic site. The ATEM Mini front panel. So stop moving. Okay, so this button, the key over here, this is just the downstream key. And then this section is about the upstream keys. And these buttons, in my opinion, are not super useful because they are sort of like presets and you can't really change what they're doing unless you go into the software control, at which point then you're in the software control and you should just do it that way because you get better control. The downstream key, at least this one just does exactly what it says, which is it turns it on or off based on whatever settings were already there. So you can use it to, you can prepare your downstream key overlay if you want it like to be like a fancy border or like a logo in the corner, and you can turn it on and off with that button. And that one is just downstream. Did I test the new Hollyland? You talking about the Cosmo? Is that get the name right? Hollyland Cosmo C1. That's the new one. I did. So this is the one that I took with me to Dusseldorf, and it did a very good job of getting through the walls of that building, because I was like going from end to end in the building, and there was a giant thing in the middle of like the bathroom area and like a kitchen area, and it had a very stable signal. I was impressed. I am planning on doing more tests with it though, and doing an actual video about it later. But I did mention a couple times on previous lives. Mike, first time live watcher. Apologies if it's been asked some other time. What's the best budget HDMI wireless transmitter receiver for camcorder to HDMI input to ATEM? Thank you for joining. Cosmo is a good option, for example. I don't think it's the cheapest one. I think they have, so Hollyland has cheaper ones as well. And I'm always trying to remember which is the one that is discontinued. I think the old Mars is discontinued. Hollyland Mars 400S Pro is not cheap. Cosmo C1 is not cheap. There's also the 300 Pro. And none of these are terribly cheap, but that's what you like. The under $100 ones are just not good. The Mars 300 Pro is probably the cheapest one that I would suggest, and that is do I have a link to that? It's still like $300 or $400, and yeah, Mars 300 Pro. It's good. Basically, all the ones in that price range that are like the $400 to $1,000 ones, they all have a little bit of latency in them, and it's definitely minimal. It's quite reasonable, but it is noticeable. And like if you have audio that's not coming in from that camera, it will be out of sync, noticeably out of sync. Actually, I can demo that right now because I have that plugged in. I have the 400S Pro plugged in right now to that's this shot. That's actually on a wireless because I have the camera at the other end of the room. But I happen to have this microphone wired into, oh no, I don't have it wired in, but we just turn on the audio from that camera and then hear it. So the audio you're hearing is from my overhead mic wired in directly. And then if I turn on the audio from that camera at the end of the room, let's see if this works. Hello. Oh, it's really quiet. It's super quiet. You should hear the delay in a clap though. Yeah. So that is the amount of delay you get in those wireless transmitters. So you can imagine if you're trying to, it will look out of sync compared to lips. So I always use them when I'm not going to be videoing a person who is also speaking with the audio routed differently, because if I cut to this angle, you can't tell it's out of sync because it's just a picture of the back of the rack. So that's how I end up using those. You can get, like I mentioned, there's like the super cheap HDMI transmitters, and those are usually the little like black rectangles, and I've been using those quite a bit as well, especially when I was doing before all the Hollyland ones came out, or got a lot cheaper when they were thousands of dollars. And the problem with those really cheap ones is that they will compress the video a lot more, and also be a lot more delayed, like talking about like up to a second delayed. And the those are really only useful for like someone's slides from their computer, which was mostly how I was using them. Was like, we're going to get their slides from the front of the stage to the back of the stage where the video box is, and it's okay if they're a second delay because they don't change that often anyway. And then, yeah, Rick is saying there are the very expensive Hollylands and other brands as well that have virtually zero latency, which is very impressive. But those go up a lot. MT says the Hollyland 400 is rated at 80 milliseconds, the 300 is a bit more, around 120. Yeah. Peter says, I've been using the Nereus Aries Pro, which is $300 and has absolutely zero latency. Really, if it really has zero latency, I'm curious how they do that for $300, because I haven't seen anything close to zero until you spend thousands of dollars. Oh yeah, Alex did a review about the Teradek Spark 4K, which had basically zero latency, which is fantastic, but that's also very expensive. Cool, okay. Where was I in the chat? Am I going to review the Teradek Wave? I might try to ask them to see if they will send me one to review, but I don't have plans right now to review it. This is a good question. I don't know for sure about this. YoloBox monitor out, only 5994 and can't change. I don't remember, actually. I suspect that's the case, though. Good question, though. I will have to dig into that. Does YouTube allow for recurring broadcasts, or do I need to automatically or manually create them for each occurrence? There is no such thing as a recurring live stream in YouTube. So the way it works is essentially when you every video on YouTube gets that like 11 or 12 letter ID, and you can create those without there being like a video underneath them, which is what you do with a live stream. So you can schedule your live stream for a certain date, but all that really does is just show a date on the video player before it's live. It doesn't actually do anything really mechanically. But the video ID is assigned. And then as soon as you push video to that ID and it starts receiving video, that ID is then stuck. Like, you can't replace the video and you can't add to it later. Once the stream ends, it's done. And then that becomes just like a regular video on YouTube. There's no difference after it's live. Well, I mean, the difference is that it has like a chat replay and stuff, but there's no, it looks like a recorded video other than the fact that there's a chat next to it. And once you end the live stream, that ends that video and it is done, it's fixed, and then you have to go create a new one. So for these streams, for example, every week I have to go create the next one and just create them ahead of time, and they get the video IDs assigned when I schedule them, and then the stream, yeah, it's just a lot of work to create them all the time. You could automate it. I haven't automated mine yet. I do manually create them, but mainly because I want to change. I usually change the thumbnail. I usually change what's in the text, and it's not that hard to just copy. When you schedule it, you can say reuse the settings from last time, and it'll like bring everything over, and then you can make some changes if you want. So yeah. Brian says, Happy New Year. In Companion, do you use the original ATEM module? Did you try the Mix Effect Companion module? Looks promising. Facing problems with the connection to the ATEM Extreme. Right now, I mostly use the original ATEM module and companion. I have a couple of things that I am now running through Mix Effect for actions that the companion module does not have. So I haven't like totally worked this into my workflow yet, but the let me show you one button here, which is the I have these like scenes, and this will do routing in my video hub to change what sources go to what inputs on the ATEM, but it also updates my multi-view. So this one, I can change the multi-view, like what is in the boxes on the multi-view, because I want different things when I'm looking at different, or have this working differently. Like sometimes I want the recording status visible, sometimes I want streaming status visible. And then one of the ones I haven't wired into this yet, but that Mix Effect can do that the companion ATEM can't, is I want to update the labels on my multi-view. So if you're looking at the multi-view, I've got all the labels across the bottom, and as I reroute sources, I want those labels to change. And there is no command in companion to update the ATEM, the multi-view labels, but there is in the Mix Effect module. So I haven't done that yet, but when I start building out more of that stuff, of like more buttons on my Stream Deck to route inputs various places, I want the labels to change to match as well, which is something I will be doing in Mix Effect. The MT says, Nereus claims the latency of the Aries Pro is less than 1 millisecond direct from their website. Well, I don't necessarily believe stats directly from their website. I would like to see that in a test, because oftentimes those are created in very carefully crafted environments to get those numbers, and then it breaks down in the real world. But I'm happy to be shown otherwise. When using an ATEM Mini Pro with companion and Stream Deck, when using OBS to change a scene in OBS, change input on the ATEM with the macro applied, how do you deal with delay issues? Ooh, yeah. So if you are chaining a bunch of stuff together across a bunch of different devices, then sometimes things don't happen at the right time. The way that I tend to use it is, some things are always going to have a delay, like even in the ATEM itself, running macros, for example, if you try to do a whole bunch of stuff at once, it actually won't happen all at the same time. Like if you try to move super source boxes and then adjust upstream keys, sometimes they take like a frame. I'm talking about very small delays, but they take like a frame. And if you were to write a macro, or write either a macro or a sequence of steps in companion to make a bunch of changes all at once and bring it on the air, you will then sometimes see things moving around for a couple of frames. So what I try to do is, if I know an action is going to have a delay, I will try to do that in a way that it is not on the air yet. So I'll make the changes while that scene is off the air, make all those changes, and then sometimes I'll just add like a half a second delay in companion before the like on-air action. I don't know if I have any off the top of my head I can show you to do that, but this might be the super source ones that I reconfigure. I'm not finding them, but anyway, that's how I'll do it. So it'll be like a whole bunch of actions, but all those are happening while the input's off the air, and then at the very end I'll have like a delay 100 milliseconds or half a second depending on what it is, then bring it on the air. Okay. Getting a lot of questions coming in. Lots. I'm gonna skip some of these, and we're gonna talk about the rack now, because I see a lot of comments about the rack. So let's take a look. Are you going to clean up that nest in your rack? I might have to go. I might have to go and bring the camera in closer, because it is not as disorganized as it looks. But let's take a look first at the front. And to do this, I'm going to switch microphones so that you can actually hear me as I'm over there. So we're gonna look at the front first, and I'm gonna switch over to a wireless mic. So, okay, you can still hear me. Now I can move around. So, all of this stuff, first of all, is stuff that was already on my desk. I didn't really, I added one new thing, and everything else was already on the desk. So these two were the main things that were at the top, which were at the top of my rack desk, and this is my two smart views, and then the video hub, which is my favorite thing ever, although it is too small and I want a bigger one. Then the next row has what used to be up here on the top of up here, which is the Television Studio HD, the old and slightly outdated Television Studio HD, which I hadn't used for many years and then finally found a use for again. And then this one is the web presenter. So this is the one that's streaming right now, so you can see it says on air. And then, let's see, can I zoom in? Yes. Next we have next we have a HyperDeck. This is the HyperDeck HD, which I mainly use for video playback. You can see I've got some of the clips loaded in here of like the different, the stand videos, or when I had that just looping stand thing playing, and you can, you know, play them back from those buttons, which is nice. This one is the Ultra Studio 4K, and this is what's doing the chat. So this is plugged into the computer, and the computer outputs from OBS into this, and you'll see here, if I click a chat message, you'll see it appear here. So like if I show that on the screen, you can also see, oh, it kind of covered it up. No, you can kind of see it down there. You can see it's appearing there because it's showing me a preview. And then down here we have two more HyperDecks. And these are the very old one, which is the one that's at the very top of my stack of videos. So that is the one that does the stinger. And this one is just miscellaneous. It's just wired in there for input and output. And again, I can reassign, of course, what goes in and out of these using the video hub. And then below that is the ATEM Mini Extreme, which you might notice is floating out in front of the rack. And this is my stand that I made for it. This is the one that used to be on my desk. And then I actually printed a little bracket, little sort of side ears. And do I have a light that I can light this up with a bit? Where did I put all my lights? Oh, it's on the back side. Here, I'll just yank that out for now. This might, there we go. Get some light on that. So you see the little ear that just attaches to the back screw holes of the stand, and then gives me screw holes to mount here. And it's extremely sturdy. I was posting Instagram stories of when I was doing this, but like it's not going anywhere. You can't like, yeah, it's really strong. Then I added the little flaps to keep the ATEM in as well. So I've got, it doesn't go anywhere. And then below that, which, let's see. Oh, thanks for the super chat, Petra. I appreciate it. Please sell the mount rack. I will think about it. I will think about it. So far, so good. I'm going to give it some more real-world testing, though, before I subject anybody else's ATEMs to that. Okay, so below, we've got a, this is just a power brick. It's one input and like 7 outlets on the back or something, and 1 outlet on the front. Nothing fancy there. I just need more outlets. This one is fancy. This is called the Net Booter. This one gives me 8 power outlets, but they're all individually switchable over the network. Basically, I needed that because some of these things crash and they need to get rebooted. Like, I've actually had the web presenter freeze up and it gets stuck. Sometimes some of the HyperDecks do as well. And I don't think the new one has, but the old one I've had trouble with. Or it'll like lose its internet connection and just forget about how to talk to the network. and then I can't do anything with it. The ATEM Extreme I haven't had crash on me lately, although sometimes the USB output stops outputting audio, and then you need to reboot it to fix it. So now that everything's in this rack, I don't have easy access to the power cables, so this is virtual power cables, and I can just quickly toggle off and on each of the inputs. And then the down here is the MR18 for all my audio going in and out and plugged into the computer over USB. And at the very, very bottom is my battery. Big 1500 VA battery at the bottom. And that is now the complete gear on the rack. Oh, up at the top, you'll see my iPads. Get that camera straight. iPads and iPods. So this one is running the mixer control software, so I can quickly turn on and off microphones and sort of see the status of the mixer. That's talking to the MR18. This one is doing the sidebar graphics, and if I can like quit out of it, and you'll see over here, this is it's outputting onto input 2 of the other ATEM, and then should reload that since I think I made some changes to it. There, yeah, I can see it downloading. And then that one is running Mix Effect. And I moved Mix Effect onto this little tiny iPod because I actually mainly want it to be a Mix Effect server rather than something I actually tap the buttons of. Because again, I can send commands to this over the network, and this supports more commands than the companion module in the ATEM. So yeah, these are the those are the devices in the rack. And Eric says, now the desk is noticeably less encumbered with hanging cables off the back. Exactly. All the mess of cables is now in here, and I've just got a few left there, and I'm going to clean those up now because I can actually reasonably do that now that there's not like 50 cables hanging off the back. Okay, let me go back up here and what did I do? Hit an extra button. Musical interlude. Okay, we'll take a look at the back in a second. Can you give us a link to that virtual power switch? Yes, I can. Let me go dig that up. I found one that was reasonably priced. And so far I've been happy with it. I'll show you the web interface for it too once I dig this up. Oh my god, when did I buy it? It was a while ago. There it is. Okay, so this is finding the link. It's called Synaccess. So this is let me remember what the what did I give the IP? I need better bookmarks for these. There it is. So the web interface for it looks like out of the 90s, but that's fine. It works. And you can name the outlets to say what you have on them, and then if you tap the button, it will turn the power off. And I don't want to do that now because it will actually break things if I do that. So you get little buttons here. You get a reboot button, which will actually power it down for like 8 seconds and then power back on. You can actually change the reboot time if you want. Somewhere in here, there is like setup for this. Yeah, so if you tell it to reboot, you can actually make it reboot every day if you want. So I don't actually want to do that, but you can schedule it and it'll just every day at 2 o'clock, power down for 5 seconds, turn back on. A lot of more complicated features of grouping them in case you have like, you want them to sequence and turn on one in a row. I don't have temperature sensors connected, but apparently you can also monitor temperatures of things, which is cool. And I also don't use this feature, but you can tell it, go ping this IP, and if it fails to get a response, reboot it, which is like basically if you need to reboot your router. Kind of cool. But I'm using it for just the most simple thing, which is just I want to be able to turn on and off individual outlets. And what I did was they actually have docks on this, and they have a couple of different ways to control it, which is I don't remember where that was. Yeah, so here it is. They have a couple of different options for how to control it, either like over the serial port or over SNMP or web interface. They even talk about an HTTP protocol. So in Companion, I was able to create a button that will turn it on and off, or cycle different outlets. Where did I put those? I don't remember where I put them now. Maybe it's in my streaming. No, maybe it's in my HyperDeck control. I should make a button here to power them on and off. I've got it in somewhere. Is it in this one? Yeah, here it is. So this is what it looks like. Very secure password, admin. But basically you just make a post request to this URL, command.cgi, and then you have to give it this obscure syntax, which is basically A3 is like the command, so you're saying turn off or turn on. I can't remember which one's which. A3 is like power, and then you tell it which outlet, which is this %20 is a space, and then outlet number 2, and then another space, and then the number 1, which I think is on, and then 0 is off. So I found this in the docs, and then basically you can just copy and paste this URL into your Companion config, and then you can make buttons to control the outlets. So I'm going to eventually make a page in here, which is just like all the outlets just in a group, so I have quick access to them. I should probably just add it down here, like 1 through 8. So yeah, control via web, telnet, USB serial port, SNMP, all sorts of stuff. Cool. Okay. Is there? Oh, thank you, Axel. Do they make a rack 1 foot, 2 foot high by 5 feet long to go on the back of the uplift desk? Ooh, interesting one. Mounting a rack to the back of an uplift desk. That sounds dangerous. I do check the weight rating of your desk, because those are definitely limited in how much they can lift. What rack did I get? Probably here it is. So it was, I should have thought ahead and put all these links in the description beforehand. So sorry about that. Echogear 20U. And sorry, it's probably not available in all regions, because these things tend to not be when they're this big. Yeah, they don't carry that in Amazon CA. Sorry. How long did it take everything to get rigged to it? So on, what was it? Tuesday I did the stream. Yeah, Tuesday I did the live stream with everything on my desk still. And I think it was Wednesday I came back in and tore everything up. And I tore up, do I have good in progress pictures of this? I tore up the whole studio. Yeah. Let me share this. And I can use my new matrix, my new buttons on the Stream Deck to do this. ATEM 4 is going to get the Apple TV. That way I can share this picture. And then this one I don't have a good button for. We're going to say it's the oh, that will work. Yeah. Look at that. This was my studio after I started tearing everything apart, and I was trying to keep the cables somewhat organized, and I was storing them on the floor in groups. So like USB power cables, 3-foot HDMIs, the short SDIs, the 3-foot SDIs. What are those? Short networks, long networks. And that ended up being really handy because then as I was wiring everything back up, it was really easy to be able to just grab a cable from where it was on the floor. So that was Wednesday, and the what I left it looking like on Wednesday was basically this. What happened was I ran out of rack screws, and I could only mount these to it, and I ran out of screws. It came with, like, the rack came with a bunch of screws, but not enough. And I completely forgot that I was going to need a bunch more. So I was only able to get this far on Wednesday, even though I still had time left in the day. And then I was like, shoot, I have to order rack screws now, and definitely have to go home. So I went home. I didn't come back that day. I think I spent like 3 hours on Wednesday tearing it apart and getting it this far. And then I went back on Friday to finish it off, and that is when I thankfully found rack screws at home, and found rack screws at home and was able to actually finish it off. So that was lucky, because the screws I ordered on Amazon are still not here yet. Okay, what else about the front of the rack? Regarding a rack mount, is there a way to slot the stand in for easy removal so you don't have to screw or unscrew repeatedly for the mobile folks? This is why I haven't put this version of it up for sale yet. That's an interesting idea. I don't know if, like, I don't plan on taking that out, really, because I just always have it installed. But I am curious, if you were going to rack your ATEM Mini Extreme, would you also want to take it out to be able to carry it? I don't know. I tend to think of those two as completely different workflows, and I'm curious if anybody else like does use both. I would just end up doing a totally different build of gear if I'm planning on it being mobile. Mobile gig rack users are going to need a drawer. Well, if you're talking about moving the rack, I would definitely not move it with it floating off of the front like this. Like, this is not going to be something I'm going to roll around. But for use in the studio, it's great having it just sort of hang off because I can see it and it doesn't take up space on the top, and I don't need a drawer or whatever. I like the way it looks. Did you have some time to celebrate the new year? I did. I did most of the finished build of this on before New Year's Eve, and then I did not do anything yesterday. That's not true. I did some merch, work on the merch yesterday. Where did the converters go? Okay, so let's look at the back, because that's where everything gets to be a bit of a mess. I'm going to switch back to the other audio. And let's move around to the back. So I'm also going to prepare my phone in case I want to show you closer. So let's get that light in here. This is the back, and I know it looks like a disaster, but trust me, it's not as bad as it looks. So most of the stuff is like long cables that are just kind of draped over from the last bits and pieces that I put in here. But if you look closely, most of the wires are extremely short. And this was something I spent a long time fiddling with. So like when the HyperDeck is plugged in, or the Ultra Studio is plugged into the television studio, it's a very short SDI cable. Most of these are very short like that. And then the long stuff is sort of the stuff I put in at the end. So this is like a power cable that goes up to one of the iPods. This one is an SDI cable for the screen on the front. And then let's go in even more. I need a button to change the cameras. Good thing I have mix effect up on this iPod. What input is that? Here we go. So now I can show you closer in here. I have this network switch. This is the main network switch in here. I stupidly did not get one with PoE in it, so I still have to have this one, which is my other network switch. And this one is the one that actually has PoE, because some of these things are power over Ethernet, which is really nice. So yeah, I have two network switches in here, which is kind of silly. I should have just got the big rack one that is PoE. On the bottom is where all the power stuff is. So if we look down here, this is where you see the battery outlets, the outlets from that 8-port switch, the little extra outlets I needed up there. And I kind of separated it that way, where the bottom stuff is all power, and then the top stuff is all the stuff I actually want to access. And I kind of like how easy and open this is, because I am going to want to rewire stuff, you know, every now and then. So I did want it to be somewhat accessible. And like, if you look way in there, there's the two Magewell devices, right? So there's the two Magewell SDI receivers. Those are power over Ethernet, which is nice. Here's my streaming bridge over here. And these are all just like easily accessible. Here are the converters. These are the ones that are kind of, they're not actually attached, like these little stacks move, but there's so many wires that they can't move really that much anyway. So the HDMI for those, I don't know if I can actually get a camera in here effectively, but oh yeah, okay. So there's the ATEM, bottom of the ATEM, and you can see all 8 are really short HDMI cables into those stacks. And then the other end of them, of course, run up into the matrix. And I've got, those are actually now sorted properly. So they're inputs 1 through 8, starting at the bottom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's a couple in here that I have wired in a certain way, which I'll talk about more when I get back to the desk, so I can show you a diagram. And a couple others that are just sort of hanging out. This one's actually for the computer, which again, I'll mention why in a minute. What else is in here? Oh, down over at this end is the Raspberry Pi, which is running Companion, another SDI transmitter or converter. Back there is the Apple TV. It's dark, so you can't see it. And yeah. And then my cables that run to the other table, they are the only ones that are poking through here. I did actually put some of these on this patch panel because I didn't want these wires that are like running up to the desk. I didn't want all of those to just be sort of dangling into the case. So I put them into this patch panel. That way things are a little bit neater. I know it looks like chaos, but it does make sense. And let's take a look. Let's go back to the, oops. Yeah, let's go back to the desk. So I can show you a diagram of what I mean by those converters. Chris doesn't like my cable management. So here's the thing about cable management. If I never changed how the studio was arranged, then I would spend more time tidying those cables up. Oh, let me switch back to the other audio. Yeah, if I spent more time, or if I didn't change up how things were plugged in, I would spend more time like wrapping the cables and in sleeves and stuff. The power cables in there, you may have noticed you didn't see any because those ones I did actually cable manage pretty well, and those are all like running in the corners, up and down the corners, or they're kind of sprawled into the bottom. But when there are power cables that run up, there's a couple of cool things I did there to tidy those up. One of the most useful things I got, where did I put this link? One of the most useful things I got to help keep that clean Okay, I know it doesn't look that tiny, but it could be a lot worse. Let me just say that. Where is it? Here it is, power splitter. So this little cord, grab that link for the timestamps. So this little thing, this is a, notice what style of plug. You plug in one of the like computer monitor or any of the rack devices into it, and then it gives you 4 of them on the other end. And the reason I like this is because what it means is you can power 4 devices, like all the HyperDecks or the TV Studio, off of one outlet into the battery. So it saves a ton of cabling too, because if you look at the back, it might be hard to see, but it's yeah, it's hidden by all the SDI cables. But if you look at the power that is going into the if you look at the power cords that are going into those Blackmagic devices, they're all really short, and you don't see a lot of the black dangly cables because it's just one cable going around the edge of the power grid, and then, or the edge of the rack grid, and then it feeds 4 very short ones into those devices. Bert says, what's the power load of the system? Is it all on one AC circuit? Yeah, it's actually all powered by that battery at the bottom, and the battery either is going directly to the different devices or going into the switch or the other power splitters, and it's all running off of that one battery, all on one outlet. The battery should show me the power usage. Let's see. It says 440 VA. It says 440 VA on it. It's not showing me it in watts. That battery is... Let me grab that. Oh, I got it off of B&H. It's a CyberPower battery, which I thought was going to be super quiet, like the one at my under the desk, 1500 VA, and that is, but it's rack mounted, so it's the same amount of battery capacity as the one under the desk, except this one fits in a rack. So grabbing the B&H link for this. Okay. This is the CyberPower UPS. VA is watts. Oh, that makes sense. VA is the that's how they measure the capacity of it. So this one's 1500, supports 1500. Okay, no. So this is why I'm confused. If you look at it, 1500 VA is the one I ordered, 900 watts. So those are not the same. It says 440 and it's saying 38%, which is, yeah, 440 is about 38% of 1500. So I'm assuming that means I'm around 300 watts. And that's not too bad for all those devices in there. I don't remember my electronics theory. Yeah, for outlets it's C13 and plugs is C14. That's the style of those outlets for the cable, in case that cable link didn't work. That cable is 75 Canadian dollars? That sounds wrong. Wow. That's a bummer. Well, if you, if you search for C13, C14, that's the power cable connector style for those devices, and then maybe you can find a cheaper one. VA is apparent power, watts is real power. Okay. Yeah, been a while since I've studied electronics. Okay, so that was the link for the battery. I see plenty of videos of people making racks and cases for ATEMs to take to gigs. Yeah, I mean, I had mine in a 4U rack for a long time. I had a the flight case that I put on the back of my bike and dragged that around, and it took a lot of gear to do what now can be done entirely in the ATEM Mini Extreme. So, yeah, pretty cool. I need to show a photo of the back of your rack to convince my wife that officially that is no cable mess. I'm afraid that she will disagree. So, okay, this is one of the things, though, is that before it was in the rack, it was on all sprawled across the back of my desk. And I don't know if I actually have a photo of that, unfortunately. I was trying to find one. I think I forgot to take a photo of the back of the desk before I started fixing it up because it was way worse. And at least now it's not the cleanest thing in the world, but at least it's all contained in that box and it's not spilling out of that box. So back of the desk is cleaner, the floor is cleaner, and it's a lot nicer now. All right. Any other questions about the back of the rack or cable management? Lack of cable management? Nope. Great. Okay, what else did I want to... There were other things I wanted to share today. Tour of the rack. Oh, didn't you do consulting on an ATEM Mini rack, George? Did it go into production yet? Yes, it did, actually. And yes, I did. And yes, it did. I should have a link to that. Did I save it somewhere smart? Looks like no, I did not. Great. Wow. No, I didn't save it anywhere smart. I'm gonna have to dig that up later. Yeah. Okay. So let's... oh, Go Web Technology says, no tags, what goes where? I did label the only ones I really care about, which are the hard ones, are the very long SDI cables that go from this desk over there, because they all are bunched up in a little sleeve. And the, yeah, Tom is asking, can you talk through your naming system for your cables, letters and numbers on the end you talked about in the studio tour? So the cables that are, the only ones that are really hard to track down are those that go across the room. Because everything in the rack, I know, again, it looks like a mess, but once you are in there up close, things are not running very far. Like they're all running very short distances. So if I need to know, like, oh, what is this thing plugged into, you can mostly just feel it, and it's not so cluttered in there that you can't just see it. But the long ones that go across the room, they're all bunched up in the sleeve across the floor. So I need to know what's at each end. For those, what I did was I just used a letter to represent the cable. So each of the 8 has a letter, and that's the it's just A through G. I end up, wait, it's more than 8. It's 12. Why did I think there were 8? 4, 8, 12. Yeah, there's 12. It goes up to L, and I don't have a shot of that top of that thing now. But the so on the inside here, you can see the little white tags coming off the ends of the long SDI cables, those are the letters. So those are each letter of the cable. That's just white gaff tape with Sharpie on it. Not the best label maker, but it does work. And that's how I identify that end, and then I know which port on the matrix to plug into. And on the other end, I did the same thing. Each has the same label with the same letter, and those go into the breakout box under this table. And on the top of the breakout box, which I'm going to have to open up my camera so I can show this again. Oops, lost my AirPlay. iPhones do make handy wireless cameras, it turns out. So on the top of this box, you can see that there are letters. And each of those ports is labeled with either XS or XD, and then a letter, and then out or in. So basically what that means, the XD and XS are mostly useless at this point. I should just probably remove them. The number corresponds to what port in the matrix it's plugged into, either in or out. So, for example, the two SDIs at the bottom right corner, those are both 16. So that's because one goes into out 16, one goes into in 16. So one of those is an input, one is an output. And they're all labeled like that. Let's see if I can get the camera up there to show you the rest of them. And then the letter is the physical cable number. So the physical cable number, or cable, is so I can identify those in when I'm looking at the matrix. So if I look at the matrix config, the way I have this set up is the outputs are all labeled based on what they're going to. So I have 8. The first 8 go into the ATEM, and then the rest go into other devices. And then starting at 11, it goes through those cables. So here's cable A, C, E, G, I, and K. And I always leave the cable letter in the label here. And the same is true with the sources. So if you look at here's my sources, B, D, F, H, J, and L, which is the odd, even letters. And then I also name them if I'm got something specific plugged in. So table camera is in cable B, jack B, and that's this main camera. So that's how I keep those organized, and that system's been working fine. Robert says, how do you get your phone into the ATEM like that? There's a whole bunch of apps that will do this. I was using the app called Filmic Pro. Filmic Pro, the key is that you can tell it to output over either a plug or over AirPlay, and it'll output a clean video feed, not mirroring the screen. So there are a couple other camera apps that do that too. I forget the names of them, but there's a handful. As long as it supports sending the clean video feed out. And on the other end, in the ATEM, there's an Apple TV. So I have an Apple TV plugged in to the matrix that I can reroute into input 4 really quick, and then plug in, and then I screen share or AirPlay, just from the pull down menu, you just AirPlay into that Apple TV. So the phone, little screen mirroring is mirroring to the studio now, and then right now I'll be seeing my phone screen on the Apple TV, but as soon as I open up Filmic, then the camera shows up instead of the phone screen. And it works great. It works. It's handy. Just to have a wireless camera in, always handy. MT says, in terms of a cleaner floor, I would recommend to mount the MR18 on the back. I know that's the one thing that has a bunch of messy cables still. I might do that. I might spin it around. I'm not totally sure I want to, just because of what it means for the other side. We'll see. We'll see. The other way to do it is, I was thinking about getting one of those 1U things with the little brushes in it, so that you can shove cords into it, and that would at least let me route all the cables into the rack instead of around and under. Did I see on the H2R Discord you mentioned making companion buttons for all the sources on the Video Hub? I did. So let me show you that because it's really cool, actually. I need to timestamp this too. So I want to show you the new buttons I made in Companion for controlling the Video Hub. This is my main buttons I use for the show, where I've got like the top 8 up here are just like the different camera angles I can switch to. But I do have a new one, which is called Matrix on page 48. And if I jump to that page, this is, there's 2 parts to it. The way that the Matrix works is there's physical buttons on it. So if you look at if you actually look at it, it's the white one underneath the 2 screens. And the buttons in Companion work similar to the way it works on the physical device. Basically, you can punch like one of the buttons to select your output, and then you punch another button to select the input, and then you can say route those 2. So I've got all these created, which are essentially recreating those buttons, those physical buttons. So what these buttons do, like this one is, it's called select destination. So all that does is sort of like, nothing actually happens when you press it. It just sort of changes the internal state of the Video Hub and of Companion. So I have it set to ATEM 1, and it actually is using a variable to grab that name out of the Video Hub as well, which is handy in case I rename things in the Video Hub. So these are all just selecting destinations, but then the other thing the button does is it goes to the next page. So when I press it, it will set that state and then go to the next page, which is my list of sources. So then I can say, let me see, ATEM 4, yeah. So ATEM 4 is selected, which is why it's green. And then I go to the next page, and it is showing me what is currently on input 4, which is in fact the Apple TV, which is why I can share my phone screen into it. And then if I press a different button, any of these sources, it will then route that immediately. So I can say, now go and route the hyperdeck. And then it changes to red, and sure enough, on my multi-view, it changed to the hyperdeck. So that's the sort of pattern. Is now on the physical device, I can push, okay, I want input, I want my hyperdeck to now have, instead of the web presenter, I want it to be sent the multi-view or something. Or I can choose what goes out on the screens. So normally, when you're using these control interfaces, like if you look at the actual Video Hub app, it either is set up like this, where you just get a big grid, and then depending on how wide your screen is, that's how many buttons appear across the top, or I can try to shorten it so that it's 10 and 10. These are all in order of the physical ports. And unless I do a very good job of planning the physical ports, these are not actually in an order that makes sense. The only ones I've really planned out the physical connections on are ATEM 1 through 8 are the first 8 destinations, and the last 4, where these are the 2 smart view monitors, and then this is the video assist above my desk, and this is my desk monitor on the left. The rest of these are like, they were just sort of there, of like, well, I plugged that thing in there and now I have to live with it. And the sources aren't really organized, except the main camera on the desk is in input 1, and the ATEM's 2 outputs are at the last 2 slots. Everything else is pretty much random, which means this is a very awkward interface to use because I have to like memorize where things are, and the icons I get to choose are very limited and they don't make a lot of sense. This is why the Apple TV is this dragon. So now with Companion, I can actually make this make a lot more sense, because basically what it means is I can put these buttons wherever I want. They don't have to be in port order. So I've got the 8 ATEM inputs up here. I've got the 2 hyperdeck inputs, and then I've got all of my cables to go over to the table here. So you see the letters again, A, C, E, G, I, K. And down at the bottom are the physical monitors over there. So it's the 2 smart views, it's the monitor on my desk, and the video assist. And actually, now that I'm looking at this, I think I actually want to move some of these around. I want the 2 smart views all the way over there. It's just how I think about it in my head. And then that will be there. We'll see how I feel about that later. But it's very cool to be able to just move these buttons around to what makes more logical sense. And then on the source side, I can do the same thing. So I've got the main camera, Apple TV, my 2 computer monitors up on this row. And then down here, I've got all the like These are the 3 streaming devices. So that, right, the Magewell, the 2 Magewells I have in the streaming bridge. Here are the HyperDeck sources for the 3 HyperDecks, or 3 HyperDeck inputs that are plugged in here. This row again is all of the cables that run to this table. And down at the bottom is my sort of like output devices. It's the TV Studio Multiview, the ATEM Extreme 1 and 2 HDMI outs, and the Web Presenter's monitor, which is what I'm seeing on the teleprompter right now, incidentally. So if I go, for example, and click that one, which is what I'm looking at the teleprompter, it's showing me the Web Presenter, but I could then change it to be the multi-view of the television studio if I wanted to. So this makes a lot more logical sense to me than the port order of the matrix. And now this is much faster for me to use. So on the actual device, let's see if I can, where is it? This one. So here's what it looks like. Here's my actual Stream Deck, and I can go over to Matrix, and I can say teleprompter, and then multi-view. And then sure enough, my multi-view, my teleprompter changed to the multi-view. Or I can go back up there and teleprompter, Web Presenter. Actually, I don't need to go back a page if I'm changing the same output. This is still, it still has the last source selected, which is, or destination selected. But now it's very quick to be able to say, oh, ATEM 4, instead of the HyperDeck, I want the Apple TV. And you can see it change over there to the Apple TV. Or I can change what's on that monitor or any of that. And it's quick. It's great. I am very happy with this layout. So to do this in Companion, the actions, it took a couple of actions, but it's all built into the module. So first, you have to do this select destination action. Select destination, and then it goes to the next page automatically. And then on this one, the action is called route source to selected destination. And basically you pick a source, and then it will finish, it'll do that command. It'll say, whatever was the last selected destination, move that source to it. And then for the feedback, you can see how I've got, this one is highlighted green. The feedback is change the background color by the selected destination. So if output 4 is the selected destination, then the button turns green. And then similarly, if the route, this is the most complicated one, change background color by route to selected destination. I feel like the name doesn't make any sense. But basically what it means, if this input specified here is in use by the selected output, remember selected output means the internal state of the router, then change the background color. So what it means is whatever I've pushed on this page, like if I go push this button and then go to this page, now that's the one that is red because that's the thing that's going into input 1 on my ATEM. So that's how that works. It's pretty cool. I'm super happy with it. I did that yesterday, actually at while I was at home because I have a VPN and I was just talking over the network to all these devices over here as if I was at the studio. Sweet, that's way quicker to switch sources. It's very, very nice. And I can have nice labels on things and put things in an order that makes a lot of sense. Techondo, am I going to convince you to go to a matrix as well? Am I using an HDMI matrix or SDI matrix with SDI to HDMI? This is the Blackmagic Video Hub, so it is an SDI matrix. And a lot of my sources are SDI. A lot of the things are SDI already. And I think long term, I'm going to end up with more and more stuff that is just SDI to begin with. But I do have a handful of HDMI inputs and outputs, including the ATEM and cameras and the iPod and things like that. So I have so many converters in the back of there. I also took the opportunity while I was tearing everything apart to update the firmware of all of my converters because I already had them all powered off and everything was unplugged. So I just sat there for like 20 minutes just unplugging each one by one into the USB port, updating the firmware. So yeah. Nice, I understand now triggering to go to page 2 for the destination for the source. Yeah, exactly. Do you have a link for the tube lights at the rack? Oh yeah, that's the, that is, what is it called? Yeah, it's the Nanlite Pavotube 6C, which I just dropped into the chat. And actually, they're still on sale right now. So there is a holiday sale going on, which has not yet ended. And it's a good deal. It's like almost $20 off right now. And I like these little things. I think I got mine off of, I got some of mine from B&H and some from DVE Store. But they're all $71 right now instead of normally $89. So I don't know when that is going to go away, but it is called a holiday sale, so I would assume soon. And they're magnetic, so that's how it's stuck to the rack. It's just I just set it in the corner of that and it just stays because it's magnetic, which is kind of cool. The converters still do not support locking into bidirectional mode. Nope. But hopefully we see that soon because, man, I definitely missed that feature of the decimator ones. Tim says, this is so much smarter than what I had set up. I had a different page for each destination. I thought I was going to have to do that and then make like 20 pages and waste 20 pages of the thing. But then somebody reminded me that there's a bunch of different actions in Companion other than take a route right now. So what I have been using before on some of my buttons, like let's take a look at page 28, which is like, okay, route for remote streaming, which is when I'm using this from somewhere else and I want different, like I want the streaming encoders going into there or whatever. There's also an action in Companion called route, and that will just immediately pick that source and send it to that destination, which is very useful for making these sort of scenes where I want that computer going into that input. I want the Pro Convert going into that input. I want the other Magewell going into that input. I want the web presenter going into that screen, right? It's very good for just sending all of those commands all at once where you know exactly what goes where in one button. But for making the manual interface for this, you don't want that. You want to use the fact that it does maintain state of here's a selected output and then send a different source. So that works a lot better. You should have done a live stream for the rack. I was thinking about it and then I was like, this probably actually isn't going to be very interesting. What I should have done was make a time lapse. Can I raise and lower my desk now? Almost. I need to get a couple more of the cables cleaned up. There's still a couple of, you can see there's still a few things draped down to the floor over there, and I don't know what they are, and I think some of them aren't long enough yet, so I'm very, very close to being able to get back to my standing desk being a standing desk again. All right. We are almost at 2 hours. Gosh. And I've not finished my coffee yet. Philip says, my most recent build was a portable 4U with 17-inch pull-out monitor. Cool. 8-channel audio mixer drawer for the ATEM Extreme. That sounds fantastic. That's like what I wanted my 4U to be, but we didn't have the ATEM Mini Extreme because it was 6 years ago. And instead I had to shove a lot of gear to make it do things that were sort of like the ATEM Mini Extreme. I would be interested to build a new rack around the Extreme though, because I do have I don't know, eventually I might want to do gigs with the full rack again instead of just the YoloBox, which is I'm not going to bring a 4U rack on an international trip or even most trips. But if I'm going to do a conference in Portland, I will bring a rack. And I still have that. It's just an empty box now sitting on a shelf. Tim says, do you regret painting your other gear white now? So, okay, interesting thing. I'm not planning on painting the rest of the stuff. So I'm not planning on painting the rest of the new stuff I've got white. Mainly because it's actually a lot of work, and some of the stuff I don't know if I actually can because I don't want to take it apart. All the Blackmagic stuff's easy because it's all front panels that you can remove. But if you notice, the things that are white are the older ones now. The older they were light gray. So all of the old style Blackmagic stuff that was that like gray color, those are all painted white now, which is great because I don't like that color. And all the new Blackmagic stuff they've been making is actually black. So I actually kind of like the way it looks now after like the high contrast. It's either black or white. Nothing in there is gray. And so no, I don't regret painting that stuff white because I don't like that color. And the good news is they're not making stuff in that color anymore either. So anything else I get will probably be the same matching black. Phillip's original plan was 8U, but that's too heavy to lift. Yeah, this stuff adds up fast. Why not make the old stuff black? I mean, I could. I'm not going to paint it again. It was a lot of work. And then I'll have 2 layers of paint, which is probably also going to look bad. Also, I don't know if the black paint that I could get is going to match the same black. I like it. I think it's fine. Okay, another question. Why is Blackmagic are not friends with NDI? This would be such a game changer if we can include an NDI decoder in the ATEM Mini Extreme. I agree, it would be cool. Never gonna happen. Never gonna happen. They're basically competitors. That's the reason. So, like, New Tech has been making they don't just make NDI, they make hardware also that is essentially straight competitor to Blackmagic stuff. And in order to include NDI in hardware, you have to pay a licensing fee. So if Blackmagic wanted to incorporate NDI into the ATEM, they're going to have to pay New Tech for a license to do that. And that just doesn't sound like something I would ever expect them to do. So I doubt we'll ever see it built in, but hopefully more companies will make smaller and better NDI decoders that can be used with SDI or HDMI switchers so that you're not only using NDI all in software. Franco says, sorry, I'm in now. I'm not sure what the subject is. Subject is whatever. I have an ATEM Mini Pro. How do I, when I go to a location such as a hotel, to be sure that the IP of the ATEM does not match some hardware in the network? For example, a printer with the same IP is turned on. Oh yeah, good question. So I need to do a video about this because I have been getting this question a lot, over and over again. The answer is you make your own private network. You bring a router and have a router as part of your kit, and that is what all your gear is plugged into. So you have control over everything on the inside of that router. You can set your ATEM IP, you can set your computer IP, and you know exactly what range it's going to be, and you control that whole thing. And then on the internet port of the router, you plug that into the hotel. And they will only see one device. They will see the router, and then everything behind it is sort of more or less invisible to the rest of the network, and the IP addresses won't conflict that way. So that's the best way to do it. The only caveat is in some very, very tightly controlled networks like government buildings or sometimes very paranoid school administrators, they will block that from working, and you'll have to go and talk to them to get individual IP addresses for each of your thing, and it's a nightmare. And just don't ever get yourself into a situation where you have to do that. So the best solution is to bring your own router, essentially. And there's a million different ways you can do that. You can do it with a full-size Wi-Fi router. You can do it with just a wired router. You can do it with a little travel router, which I end up using a ton. They're super small, little smaller than a phone even. But that way you get to control your network and actually you reuse IP addresses between gigs and not have to update all your configs and stuff like that. So that is the best way to handle it. And yes, I do need to do a proper video about that to actually explain how to do that. Love the private IP config. I would use a laptop to validate that my private IP network is not the same as the hotel. Oh yeah, that's true. There is the very slight chance that the address range you've chosen for your own network might be the same as what's on the other end. Small chance because If you just pick a random number, it probably won't conflict, but yeah, that would also break things. Paranoid school administrators, yes. Bird Dog Play is a game changer. Yeah, if it ever ships. That's a very small NDI to HDMI, which I'm very excited about, but does not exist yet. In the meantime, the Magewell that I got has been working fine. And that's actually another way to get a phone camera into your ATEM is over NDI. This one is, let me grab the right one. Where did it go? It's Pro Convert. Why don't I have the right link? Oh gosh. Magewell has two different models, again, because it requires paying a license fee for NDI support. The Magewell sells a NDI enabled one for $40 more than the non-NDI enabled one. And that's just to save them money, which is fair. So this is the link to, where is it? This one is the link to the NDI, Magewell Pro Convert NDI. And that one's the one with the NDI version, which is, I also bought that one to try it out. And it works like you'd expect. The NDI sources appear in the web interface, and then you can choose them just like any of the other sources. I do believe I did a demo of that earlier on a recent stream. Know Your Joe says, have you heard anything about any updates or new ATEM gear from Blackmagic? Looking at purchasing an ATEM Extreme ISO soon. Don't want to buy new, only to find out they're releasing a new version. I don't have any official knowledge, and if I did, I wouldn't be able to share it. But I am basing this off of my own past experience of looking at their product launches and what their lineup has. And I do believe that an ATEM Mini Extreme ISO, if you're looking at something that's that form factor of like on a desk, I do believe it's going to be relevant for a very long time still. If you would rather have something rack mounted, like if you're going to buy an ATEM Mini Extreme and then stick it in a rack, I would probably wait at this point to see what new rack gear they're coming out with, because they're almost certainly going to be releasing new rack mount gear. I think we were supposed to see it at NAB or IBC last year, and those got canceled. So I suspect those are coming soon. So if you're going to buy an ATEM Mini Extreme and put it in a rack, I would probably wait on that purchase. But if you're buying an ATEM Mini Extreme to put it on a desk and use it, or use it by throwing it in a backpack and taking it around somewhere, that's fantastic use of it. And I don't think it's going to be obsolete anytime soon. Events Unlimited says, my YoloBox Pro program out doesn't work with Decimator LX converter. Yeah, wanted to get HDMI signal out through SDI to projector. They've had, for some reason, I don't understand why, but the YoloBox HDMI out does not work with a handful of things. So, best thing I can suggest is email them, like email their support address and say, this is the device I have. It's not working with the HDMI out. And what they will do is try to fix it. They may go buy that device and try to troubleshoot it to get it to work, because they've already done that for a couple other devices. I don't know why things don't work with those, but they should. And I've had that same experience of sometimes HDMI out just doesn't work with certain things. It doesn't work with the Blackmagic converters I have either, which is really annoying, because when I want to get it into the ATEM, I can't do it over the wires, and instead, because I'm running SDI through here, so instead I usually plug it into a wireless transmitter, because it does work with the, at least with the Cine wireless transmitters that I have, and then that goes into the ATEM, and that one works fine. All right, let me see if there's any other easy questions I can get to. Can you schedule the web presenter to go live on its own at a specific time? Good question. The web presenter does not have that feature itself at all, but you can do it with Companion. So if you have it connected to Companion, you can go in and add the web presenter as one of the connections. I should be in here somewhere. There it is. Then you can make a schedule. So add a trigger, and it can be at a time of day. And you can say, oh, it is 6 o'clock a.m. on Sunday, Tuesday, and Friday. And then we're going to go streaming control start. And this is web presenter on air, 6 a.m. And then you can make a schedule to stop as well. And that way you can start and stop your stream automatically. Definitely possible with Companion. And I'm not going to save that because I don't want to just start randomly streaming at some point at 6 a.m. Game Cyborg says, what are the differences between the up-down chroma luma transition keyers on the ATEM Mini? I am not going to answer this right now because I just did a live stream where I went through all of those. So what I'm going to do is grab that link and give you that link because I did actually go through the complete demo of all of those features on a stream a week and a half ago. So this video, ATEM Mini Pro full overview, this video has that information in it. And if you look at the timestamps, you'll find the chapters of it. A lot of timestamps. Somewhere in here, we talked about all the different keys. Here we go. Overview of upstream and downstream keyers. Demonstrating the upstream key options. And then more, I think we had some issues with the network connection in the middle of that. And then I showed how to do anamorphic lens de-squeeze with the upstream key. There's downstream key down here. And yeah, that is all that is in that video and more. So definitely go watch that because that's easier than me going through it again right now. Oh, Juan Carlos says, what are you using right now to stream your live? That reminds me of a question or comment that I missed from earlier, which is I don't know if I can find it, but when I was showing the rack and showing the web presenter and the television studio, I was seeing some questions about why I don't stream from the ATEM Extreme. And the reason is because I'll drop, can I share this? I can share this. Here we go. Share that link. So here is the my studio overview diagram. This is a slightly simplified version, and I need to update it a little bit because some of it's a little bit wrong, but it's still mostly correct. The ATEM Extreme is not doing most of the streaming. Instead, I don't have my desk monitors on here either. So yeah, instead, the ATEM Extreme is outputting its signal into the television studio. And the main reason I do this is because I have a lot of camera angles that I want to be able to show for various reasons. So especially when I'm doing demos of products where I'll use the overhead. I haven't used this shot much in this stream, but when I'm doing like a demo of a product, I'll want to show an overhead view. I have used this side shot in this. I haven't used this one in this stream yet, but you know, I got all these different camera angles, and I did show you the two rack views. So that's already a lot, right? That's like 6 cameras right there. And then I've got my computer screen that I want to be able to show you in a super source, plus my phone. So those are just a lot of inputs. And on top of that, I also want to be able to show the chat on the screen. So the chat is, you know, these messages and also the stinger. And to do those, I need more inputs. So I'm already well over the total 8 in the ATEM Mini Extreme. And the way the chat that chat works is I'm bringing it in using key and fill, so I get a good, nice, transparent key with it through the Ultra Studio 4K Mini. So this is Thunderbolt into my Mac. My Mac has OBS pulled up in it, which is loaded a web page to show things like this graphic, which I can see in OBS, it's outputting to the decklink card and then showing it down on the screen. That would take up 2 inputs out of the 8 on the extreme in order to do that. And I don't want to waste 2 of the inputs on the extreme. And then to do the stinger, I need 2 more key and fill for that. And that's in this hyperdeck. So I'm basically using this Television Studio HD just to be able to overlay, to use 2 keyers and get 2 different transparent graphic videos onto the stream. So the ATEM Extreme is not streaming, it is just HDMI out into there. And then these graphics get added here, and then this outputs to the web presenter so that I can stream it. So this is outputting SDI into the web presenter, and that's a short patch cable in the thing. And this is the one streaming. And then the output of that goes to, well, actually goes to my matrix so I can get it on the teleprompter here. So one of the things I mentioned I was going to talk about for how I have that stuff set up is I should actually just go edit this right now to show you how that works. It's a special trick for how I added my Mac monitor into the stream. So I'm showing you here that it is plugged into the ATEM directly. It's not. So let's take that out. What's actually happening is I have the bidirectional HDMI SDI. This little converter is the HDMI out goes into that. And then this does 2 things. So the bidirectional ones have a couple different modes. It's either it's a cross, so it's SDI, HDMI, HDMI to SDI, or it's pass through. So if you only have HDMI in, then both of these outputs are that. So actually down here I have the 20 by 20 video hub, which is a lot. So, you know, one of these goes in here. Where does that one go? It actually goes to my monitor. So if I just add a monitor here, yeah, that'll work. Wait, why is it green? I don't want it to be green. I want, where's the official one? I just want to be able to search official ones only. Whatever, it's gonna be green. So here's my monitor on my desk. That is how that is wired up. And then the other monitor on my desk is actually not plugged into the computer. It's plugged in to one of the matrix ports through a converter. So this monitor on my desk on the left, I can't change it, or on the right, I can't change what it shows. It's always my computer monitor. The nice thing about that is I never have to worry about, like, if my Mac is on, it's going to output to that screen, which also means there isn't any latency there. Whereas if I go through too many other routing things, sometimes I can add a frame of latency, which then gets distracting. So with this, it's just passed through to that monitor and it's fixed that way. And that's been really nice having that set up that way. It also means not that one. The other trick I'm using, the other way I'm using this trick of using this in the mirroring mode saves an input on the router. So where is it? It's the I'm trying to think through my diagram. I need to actually diagram this out properly. My ATEM output is not actually wired in directly there. I actually have a bidirectional converter, and the HDMI out of the ATEM Extreme goes into there, and the HDMI out of this goes into the HDMI of the Television Studio. And the SDI out goes into the matrix. So what this means is that I never want to send anything else into the Television Studio input 1. I always want it to be the ATEM. So that saves an input. I used to have this wired up into the matrix as well, and this saved me an input because I never want anything else going into input 1. If I'm going to ever send anything else into that, it's probably going through the ATEM, or I have other HDMI ports here. So this one in the pass-through mode, the HDMI out goes into there. That's always fixed. But I do sometimes want to send the output of the ATEM into other things around the studio, whether that's a teleprompter or a computer screen or another switcher that I'm testing with or something like that. So that's why I have this going into the matrix. So I was able to use the bidirectional converter to pull that off because of when it's in this 1 to 2 mode, it's going to copy the signal into both of the outputs. And that's been super handy. So I use that for the computer monitor as well as the ATEM, the main ATEM output. I'll have a video about my build one of these days. It's fun to watch Aaron put together stuff instead of sitting down and making content. I should be making more content. Where else? What else? How do you deal with video delays? Some of my cameras have differing video delays. Have you found a solution to this other than multiples of the same camera? No, there's almost nothing out there that has that can delay video signals like that. My solution for it is, yeah, Philip says, there's a box that you can adjust video and audio delays, 5 or 6 inputs, but the cost is around $8,000. Yeah. My solution is to not spend $8,000. Oh, Eric, thank you for the super chat. Thanks for the shares. I think a bunch of people got some very useful ideas for their rigs today. I appreciate it. Thanks for the super chat. The video delay thing, there are very expensive solutions to it. My solution to it is to not spend that money and instead use your cameras in a way where the video delays don't matter. So either that is you are using the same camera at a bunch of different angles so that they're all in sync, they're all delayed together, or you are filming in a way such that you can't see the delay. So for example, my overhead camera is probably not in sync with the rest of my cameras, but if I'm just gesturing with my hands or like showing you something on the phone, you can't see my face, so you can't tell it's delayed. And same with this one, like you can't tell, like you can actually see my hands are not in sync with the monitor over there, right? Because the delays are all different, but you can't see my face, so you can't really tell it's delayed. And it doesn't matter. And then this is the one that is actually in sync with the audio. Because I do use the camera at the table, the desk, although I might be changing soon because I've been over here a lot lately. That's the G7, which has a pretty bad HDMI delay. And I did have to, in my audio mixer, delay the audio to match that. But because I'm doing it in the MR18, I can switch between the microphones, which have different delays on them, so that I can actually, I am changing the audio delay that you're hearing. So if I switch to the desk mic, it's going to sound bad because I'm nowhere near it, but this delay is different than this delay. And it's fine because, yeah. I kind of thought that's basically how I've been working around it. I figured if anybody would know, you would. Well, I haven't done the research into actually finding the products that cost $8,000. So thanks, Philip, for that. I just knew that they were expensive, and I have no interest in spending that much money. I would rather spend $8,000 on a bigger SDI matrix, because that's fun. Okay. I think we are coming up at the end. We just passed the 2-hour mark already. Starting the year off strong with a 2-hour live stream, because this is apparently no longer a 1-hour show like it used to be. I total up my streams from 2021. Where was this? 2021. I dug up the stats of all my streams. I did 72, which is a lot more than I thought. That is far more than one a week. And 122 hours of streams. And 122 hours in 72 is an average of 1.6 or 1.7 hours per stream. And if you've been following along, you'll know that in the last couple of months, they've been significantly longer than that. So I think we've been seeing this upward trend of how long they get. So we'll see if that continues on. Philip says, thanks. Best live stream of the entire year. It's of the whole 2 days. Yes, thanks. And yes, thanks for the answers in the chat as well. Thanks everybody who was chiming in with stuff there. Sorry you can't drop links, but that just helps keep spammers out. I think I have links turned on in the comments, so you can comment with links below. Well, that was fun. I had more stuff I wanted to talk about today, but I think we'll just save it for next week because we are already at 2 hours. I have some more fun stuff to show that I've been working on as well. So, and yeah, the other thing I do want to mention right before we go is my merch store, shop.aaronpk.tv, and that is where you can find all sorts of fun stuff that I've got here now. So, of course, links to my stands, and I've got the shirts I was wearing during Stream Week, and I've got a face mask, a neck thing, which is really handy when I'm biking, and I just made socks yesterday. Took a while to get that pattern right. It's more complicated than it looks. Also, the 2022 calendar that I've got on my wall, well, I will as soon as it shows up from them. But I've been using this format of calendar for a long time. It's great. Just every row is a month. Keep track of all of your live streams or video schedule on that. So that's available there as well. I've also got some used gear that I'm selling. So I shipped out a bunch of it last week. Hopefully it's showing up, or at least should show up by tomorrow. Some of it. Some of that is still available. A lot of it is significantly discounted. So feel free to browse around there. I didn't talk about it on this stream, but I also have this channel organizer where which I'm now using to plan out my video schedule a little bit better, and hopefully this will help me make more edited videos. It's got the checklist of everything I need to do before for a video from start to finish, and I've got little monthly pages as well to keep track of channel stats. And I also just made, it's not on the homepage yet. I just made yesterday these stickers, which are, where are they? Oh my gosh, there they are. These little stickers for the wall calendar of subscriber counters. So I like to keep track of the progress, and I've been, I had a bunch of stickers up through like 25K printed, and I ran out. So nice problem to have. So I just made a bunch of new stickers, and then I also was like, well, I'll make these available for sale as well. So they come in a sheet like this, and this is just like the mock-up of it. Little YouTube logo shaped stickers, and from 1K to 72K, or if you are a even faster growing channel, you can go up to 144 with the second page. And those I'm actually making those at home. So I just have like a little sticker cutter that cuts out that vinyl. And if you would like those, you can find those on the store as well. So I'll drop that link in the chat. And hopefully I will have some more of those to show later when I do more edited videos. All right. Thanks everybody for being here. Thank you for all the questions. Thanks for all the super chats. And it's been a fun one. Still over an hour behind at 2x speed. That's what I get for sleeping. And well, you got time to catch up. Oh, MT says 26K right now. I didn't even notice that. That's amazing. Looks like we just hit 26K. Thank you for that. That's wonderful. Thanks everybody for joining. And yeah, chat totally is a whole other tier of enjoyment of the live stream. Thoroughly enjoy that too. Glad to hear it, everybody. Thanks for being here every week. And yeah, Happy New Year. I totally forgot to run my little Happy New Year animation. So let's see if this works. There we go. Happy New Year. Thanks for being here all the time. Thanks for sticking around. And wow, we got a lot of super chats supporters today. This was all from Stream Week. I appreciate it so much. We will see you all again next week, same time. And yeah, have a great rest of the day.